Hi, Mikel. Can I just take you back? You mentioned about the players and keeping them happy. Can you explain what difference does it make to your coaching and the tactics and perhaps the general mood around the training ground when you have players who aren't happy because they're not playing?
Well, I think communication is key. They have to understand the role. That's really important. In order to do that, you have to be very clear from first day what they have to expect, because if not, you started to build some frustration there that they are very unnecessary. So from both parties, that has to be clear and agreed. And after that, when a player doesn't play, it's really difficult to be happy, because the profession is to play football. When they are sitting on the bench, they just being there and being supportive with the team, but they are not doing what they love more in this life. And at the end of the day, you have to find minutes for everybody, but you need some consistency as well in your lineups. When we have for competition, it's much easier, it's healthier. And now there is another fact that we have a large squad this season. So there are players that they don't play at all. There are players that they are even in the squad, and they know that they're not going to have any chance to be in that squad. And that is tough mentally for them. And it's to maintain that motivation, that positivity around the place for a lot of months. That's a big task.
So given that, would you perhaps with something like Mesut or Socrates, would you look to perhaps terminate their contracts this month so you would have a clean break? Because if the players aren't going to play,
you have to respect the player's contract. You know, what you can do is, as I said before, just try to be open with them and tell them your intentions, the role that they have in the team, and why that is, you know. And at the end, they are entitled to make the decision in their lives, because they have a contract here. And some would like to move because they are not playing, and some would like to stay. And at the end of the day, that's something that we cannot decide.
So you won't reload Mesut into the squad this month, or?
We will see what happens in the transfer window, and we will assess that at the end.
Because one final one, can you obviously you've been here, you were here as a player at Arsenal, and they took January loans, some work, some didn't work. Can a short-term fix work in January? And do you need to get the business done early so that you feel like you can go and it's clear?
Well, I think all managers, the quicker you do the business, the better, because you're buying some time, you know, and every player is going to need time to adapt. Is which qualities this player is bringing, what is the past of that player, where is he been? Is he been in a different country? Is he playing in the Premier League? Does he speak the language? Does he get familiar to certain style of playing? There are a lot of conditions that, in my opinion, that affect whether that player can have an extra impact or not in a team. And for me, there are really key things to consider before making any steps to bring anybody in January.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Thanks, Gary. Finally, Crossy, the mirror.
Hello, Mikel. Nice to see you. I was just going to ask you if I may take you back to sort of Sam Allardyce days and rivalry and everything that goes with it. You know what? When he was appointed West Brom manager, I could almost feel the collective groan from Arsenal fans. Basically, I'm surrounded by them, by the way. That basically, you know, he's been appointed just before that they play Arsenal, really. Well, what was your recollections of that? Because that was a real rivalry, wasn't it? Whether it was Sam with Bolton, whether it was Sam with West Ham, there was a rivalry there with Arsenal. Was a player in that dressing room. Did you feel that? What was that rivalry like?
I don't know. I'm not in the dressing room to know how they exactly feel about it. But like playing against Sam, you know, that is always going to compete the game for you. He's going to make it really difficult. And he's got a style and an identity that makes his teams really efficient. And when you create that rivalry, it's because the team suffer to play against him. So he's doing his job really, really well. What he's done in the Premier League for the amount of years that he's been involved is remarkable, with many different teams in different situations, and he still always managed to get the result that he's looking for. So again, yeah, when a team is not doing well, you hope, okay, and you have more games to watch to what they've been doing. Now it's completely changed, and you have to focus more on what you've done recently. And as I said before, it will be tough again.
He seemed to feast upon that rivalry, didn't he? He seemed to enjoy it. He got the best out of it, shall I say, for his play.
I think enjoy because he's competing with big teams and he loves that, and he's always been really efficient doing that.
Will it be a test of character for someone like Pablo Mari, for example, a bit different? The sort of long balls down the middle.
Well, there are certain games, certain grounds, certain styles in the Premier League that you have to go through and experience. And a lot of time we used to say to new players, "Welcome to the Premier League." When it gets the winter time, it's freezing, the pitch is not great, it's windy, and you start to have to deal with 50 long balls, iron duels, very physical teams. But this league, you need to get through them.
Is he well equipped for that from what you've seen? I mean, he's had a really impressive couple of games, hasn't he, Pablo?
He will be fine.
Yeah, no, sure. I was just going to ask you one more about Smith Rowe. He's really, his work rate, his capacity, and amongst the young players, he's, a lot of headlines have gone for Saka, but Smith Rowe has really impressed, hasn't he? Do you like his work rate? Do you like his, what he gives to the team?
It's a player that I really liked since the first day that I watched him. It's just the way he moves, how intelligent he is, the position that he takes. And as you mentioned, his work rate. And don't underestimate that because he works really hard for the team. He had a really bad shoulder injury this year. He hasn't really trained with us at all. For the last 2 weeks, he's been much more involved, and you can see what he can bring to the team. So I'm delighted to have a young player with his talent and in that position as well. That is something that we need.
Can I ask you just one final one on the protocols? Really, it was just yesterday. I'm sure you're aware of it. The Spurs game was cancelled very, very late. I think it was less than 3 hours before it was officially cancelled. Amid everything that we're doing well, that felt a bit chaotic. Does there need to be? And I realise it's a movable feast, but does there need to be some sort of set protocol, perhaps more, that if a certain number of players tested positive or at a certain time has to be in place so whether you're playing or not? Because you'd be frustrated yesterday.
I think, as I mentioned, the last week something happened, and the peak went up and a lot of new things happened that haven't happened in recent months. And that has to be addressed. And as you said, now we need another protocol. We need clear guidelines of what to do and what not to do. And the timeline, of course, because we cannot be waiting there till the last 2 hours whether we are playing a football match or not. We should know a little bit earlier and at least have, an open communication with the three parties, the two teams involved in the game and the Premier League, and make a decision what is right to do in that moment, but with a little bit of time, ideally.
Is it practical to do it the night before? Is that viable?
I don't know if it's possible, because if there are players that they get up that morning and they have some symptoms of fever, it gets a little bit complicated when the game is at 8 p.m. There's still a lot of hours to do, so decisions to make. I don't know what's the best way. I'm sure the doctor will find the best way. What is important, again, is that we have an open communication, and if something is happening, we should know early so we can get prepared.
Brilliant. Mikel, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you all. Thanks you.
All.